Hi, it's Tiffany, Lorraine, the Resilient Mother. Welcome to a new year. Oh, I'm so excited. Time to renew. Today, we're going to talk about reality check, a really great topic for the beginning of the year. And as a mother, I think there's always this point where we have to check in with ourselves. And today, my guest is Laurie. She's going to talk about this in her life and what she does. And we're just here to empower moms. So with that, Laurie, tell us more about you.
Hello. My name is Laurie Herbers. I'm a radiant leadership and life coach. I love helping women step into their callings, like full on step in, not just baby steps, like understanding their divine worth and all the uniqueness that is in them. That is like one of my favorite things. Relationships is really big for me. I used to actually be a relationship and life coach, kind of changed it. But yeah, relationships are so important, but they always start with our relationship with ourselves, which is why I'm really excited about this episode and getting that reality check. Where are we really with ourselves as not just as a parent, but as, a woman, as a person, as an individual? What are our needs? Are we making sure our needs are being met?
Absolutely. And I think that starts with awareness. And I say reality check because for me, I feel like some people talk about a come to Jesus moment or hitting rock bottom or something like that. But really, when it comes down to it, it's a reality check. Mm-hmm. Like, what was that point where you finally decided to be honest with yourself and look at, this is where I am, is this where I want to be or not, and what am I going to do about it? Can you speak to that?
Oh, yeah. Honestly, I believe it was when somebody asked me, like, what do you do for self-care? And I was like, that's a thing. I don't do it. They're like, well, what do you enjoy to do? And I'm like, I don't know. Because it always been about my daughter and putting her first and all her needs first. And she had to be here and she had to be there. And I forgot that I had places I should possibly go or do or be. That was like a huge reality for me. And part of my past is I grew up in abuse and trauma. Mm-hmm. And I carried that forward. If we don't deal with the excess and the baggage of that residual, the remnants, I guess you could say, I brought that into being a parent. And I can be honest now and say I was not a good parent when she was little. I wasn't, because when I didn't love myself, I didn't have love to give. And that's the same with basic needs. We know that our children have their basic needs met, but we can't give what we don't have. So if we don't even understand how to make sure our own basic needs are met, how are we going to give that to our children? So this was like a huge wake up call for me. And it was a huge shift. So much of a shift that when I started actually pondering what's it mean to love me, to make sure that my love bucket is full. And I started spending time in quiet and in nature and just understanding what love really, really is, because we cannot give what we don't have. And as parents, we want to love our children, and we do. But it's so much bigger when we learn to love ourselves first, because then we're not coming from a place of emptiness. We're coming from a place of fullness. And so just ponder that for a moment, to come to your children full, so completely overflowing with this love. Now see the difference. And she was old enough at that point that she came to me and was like, Mom, you're different. She knew, she could feel the difference. She started being more open. She started telling me things because she was bullied in school. And so she started telling me what had actually happened, a few years prior, which was probably the thing she didn't tell me then. But, because of what we do, it affects everything we do affects them. It's like I was talking to somebody the other day about basically like a field, because we have cause and effect, sowing, reaping and sowing. We sow these seeds, but our children are in that field with us until they grow up and move out. They're in our field. What are we planting? What kind of harvest are we planting? That was that's an eye opener. Start thinking about what seeds, what actions am I choosing every day? Because on the flip side, I was teaching her that I wasn't important, that she always came first. And her attitude in her teens started to show that. Her expectation was, I come first all the time. It's all about me. Now, is that a good reality check for her to understand, though, that's not how the world works. It's not always all about you. So I had to do some quick shifting and revealing that reality check for myself. What was I actually teaching her? Because I was also teaching her then as a parent that she doesn't matter and that all her needs they stop when she has a kid. And that is not what I wanted for her. So I had to be like, whoa, reality check, reality check, reality check. What am I actually teaching her when I'm always coming to her empty and always putting her first before myself?
I love two things that you just talked about. The example we set. We're setting that example whether we realize it or not. And I definitely have to apologize sometimes, as I have to say to my kids, I'm still learning. I'm still growing. And there are definitely patterns I don't want to take with me. And you're on the ride with me. We're going to do the best that we can. And I felt like how you talked about that self-love and how you got emotional there, because it's a big deal. Like I did self-compassion during COVID. I would say it was such a blessing. And what it made me realize is we shouldn't be conditional with the love with ourselves. We really need to be able to love ourselves exactly where we're at, even in the struggle, even on the bad days, even when things don't go as planned. We still need to show up for ourselves. We may have had other people abuse us, abandon us. We may have disappointments. That's just part of life. But we better not abandon ourselves. We better be showing up for ourselves, because how are we going to show up for anyone else if we're not showing up for ourselves? And our kids really need to see that yeah, there's a bad day. That's okay. I can still make it a good day. This happened. I can turn it around, or I will overcome it over time. And I will say, I think some things take longer than others. We ask for patience, and then we're expected to find joy in the waiting. We ask for strength, and then something knocks us to our knees. But that's life. And they need to see us be resilient and bounce back from it stronger and better every time. That allows them to know that they're going to be able to do that as well. And that they also can be honest with themselves. I think it's important that we don't let them grow up with this false sense of you can just put a mask on and you can just pretend that everything's okay when it's not. That's the part of a reality check I really want my kids to get, is if I'm in a place, I want to be honest with them about it. Age appropriate, of course, as their development goes. But I don't want them to ever feel like I wasn't honest with them along the way, so that they can see the power of that and how that lets go of a lot of entanglements that come when you give half truths or when you don't face reality, because it will catch up with you eventually if you're not willing to just face it head on and go into it. It makes me think of this analogy I've shared before, where buffalo know to run right into the storm to get through it faster. They don't run from the storm. They run right into it and right through to the other side. And that's how I want my kids to see life, that I'm hitting things head on and I'm running for them so they can do the same. And that's the example that I'm setting.
Yeah, that's so true, because it's also your resilience, you're teaching them. I not only was a parent, but also a teacher. And so kids do what we do, not necessarily what we say. Yeah. So if we're not willing to be 100% honest with ourselves, they'll never be 100% honest with themselves or you. And we want our children to be 100% honest with us so that we can teach them resilience, and we can teach them how to make sure that their love bucket is full. And so we can teach them all the things that they need to be able to run towards the storm instead of running away from everything. So yeah, that's amazing. I've never heard the buffalo thing, but I love that because it's so true. We have to walk through the storms. Otherwise, they literally will keep chasing you. That storm will just keep chasing you until you deal with whatever that storm is. So I love that. Teaching our kids right away not to run in fear from things. Teach them the strength and the resilience that they have within their own mind, within their own thoughts, with their own ability to tell themselves they can do this. Because that is part of being resilient, is being able to say, okay, this is not what I pictured. This is not what I was asking for, but here I am anyway. What am I going to do with it now? What choices can I make? And even teaching them how to play it out. Do the scenario in your head. Is this a possibility or is this not a possibility? Or what is the worst thing that could possibly happen? I think that was one of the things that I taught my daughter was, okay, so say that did happen. Because you know how kids, they start going, oh, what if this happens? Okay, what if it did? Well, then what do you do?
Yeah.
Don't ask mom, what do you do? What do you want to do? What do you think you should do? I started teaching her as soon as she was about 13. That she had to start figuring stuff out. You forgot a homework assignment and you're calling me to go get it. Yeah, I'm not going to go get it. What are you going to do about it?
Yep.
How are you going to fix this situation now that you found yourself in it? I can't come to your rescue all of the time. How are you going to rescue yourself today?
Yeah, we're responsible for our lives, and we have to honor their agency as they figure out who they are. But we have to not take away the natural consequences, or they can't be resilient. We can't make life this easy breezy thing by fixing all their problems for them. I think that's a great example of, this is what happened. Now it's your choice. How are you going to deal with it? I'm here. I love you. I will always love you. But you get to handle this now. This is yours.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because we do them a huge disservice. Yes, as parents, we want to protect our kids. We do. But if we overprotect them, they'll get out of the house. I actually met someone I was coaching who managed to get to like her, I don't remember what she was, like late 30s, early 40s, going through a divorce. She had never gone through any kind of upheaval in her life. She had no idea what to do because she was so protected throughout her whole life that now she had to like learn now. So think how much easier your children's lives will be then if you start teaching them when they're young that yes, you ran, even when they're little, you can still, when you're telling them, don't jump across the couch like that because you're going to fall, and then they fall and they cry to you. Yes, we can comfort them, but see what mommy said. What happened? Didn't she say that could happen? And then it did, and it didn't feel good, did it? So, we teach them as they're young that, okay, you made a choice and the consequence was you did fall. Yeah. Did you have to fall? I don't know.
And I think it's an interesting subject around boundaries too, because we do want to keep them safe. Mm-hmm. We do want the boundaries around where they are allowed to explore by the age that they are, development that they are, and by set of standards and values that we grew up with that we feel are important. But at some point, they get to choose what those things are. Mm-hmm. And so if we can at least start giving them those guidelines and then say, okay, now I'm giving your boundaries to you. What does that look like for you? And it has to come from that experience from a young age of like, understand, I'm here to give you the best advice that I can because I want to keep you safe. But what you choose to do is going to have its consequences. I can't take the consequences away, but I can guide you in the direction that I think will keep you within this framework that will set you up for success. And success definitely leaves clues. So we do want to set up with those things and strategies that we find that work, that allow us to be in alignment with who we are and who we're meant to be, and also to be contributing members of society in a meaningful way as well. And remember that it's not just about us. The world doesn't revolve around one person. Everything that we do affects everyone else. And so do our choices. So those are some of the things that I want to also strive for with my children.
Yeah, that is true. It is. Everything they do affects others. And I like that whole idea of the field analogy, because even like when they're in a classroom, that's now a field. That's the classroom's field. So the things that happen in this field here affect you and affect everybody else that's in this room. As a teacher, I got really good at teaching them, like, you don't understand what everybody's going through here. You don't know, because we hide things from each other. I think one of the greatest things that I ever did, and it was just like let's see what happens. I had everyone on a piece of paper write down the one thing that was in them, that just was either something sad or something good, just something that it was always with them. And they balled them up and they threw it all to the front of the room. They didn't have names on it. Nobody knows who they were. And I was reading through them. And this group of kids got to learn so much about it. They started just opening up to it. Was the most beautiful, profound thing I've ever experienced, where they started opening up. Yeah, that was mine. That was my thing. And something happened. And everyone's like, I didn't know that about you. Because I was trying to teach them that just because someone's smiling and you're messing around with them and you think, oh, they're cool with it. But deep down inside, they might not be. They're not. There's so much inside of people that you don't see.
Yeah.
And so if we can teach our children young that, those things that you think are okay may not be okay. So, and if someone really tells you, please don't call me by that name, don't call them that name thinking, oh, it's just fun. It's just funny. No, they're not laughing with you. We have to learn to, not like that, but, gauge other people's reactions. Did they laugh immediately when you said that? Or did they kind of go, no? They really like it.
It's not your reality.
Yeah.
My reality is not someone else's reality. What I've been through, some things I've been through, I wouldn't wish on anyone, honestly. And we all have things we've gone through. And what's supposed to be the beauty of that is that we're a common humanity. So I love what you did, because it gave the opportunity for the students to connect on a deeper level. And we are all striving for that and seeking that and wanting that. And the new era that we're in, with technology making us connected, but also disconnected at the same time. We want those people that we can have those deeper conversations with. And depending on the appropriateness or not, what it comes down to is you're not the first person to go through something. You're not alone. You're not isolated unless you isolate yourself. You're not new to the human experience. You're one person going through it. And the more that we can connect on those deeper levels of the highs and the lows in life, the more that we can accept each other and be more communicative and not just surface level, not just masks, not just social media posts. We can really dive deeper. And I'm striving for this podcast to be that, a place where we can have some of these deeper conversations so we can bring more meaning to our parenting and just give a voice to some things that I think are important for us as parents and for the next generation that we're raising to see as we evolve and as we allow technology to be something that's a tool and not something that takes our humanity away from us. We can't step away from that deep connection. And it's hard to get that. We're here on a surface that allows us to see each other, to speak to each other, but I can't feel you in the room. I can't feel your energy to a point. Like, it's not quite the same. So it's easy to not see the consequences of what you do on social media or somewhere that you post. And I think it's really important to have that reality check of there's going to be a consequence to whatever you present out there in the world online. But what's really important is, how do you connect in person? How do you connect on that deeper level? And I can connect here. I'm not saying you can't hear meaningfully at all. But there's something we're going to lose if we don't understand our humanity. We can't lose that to our technology. We need to find a way to blend everything together and make it work for our good.
Yeah, that is true. That is one of the things that I'm striving for this year, is just to be very vulnerable and just be who I am. Because there's people out there that need that. They need to see that it's okay, first of all, just to be you and just to feel and say, this hasn't been a great season for me. It has been rough. Things aren't working the way that I want them to, but I'm still here and I'm still standing. And it's okay to be who you are. And you don't want to be around those people anyway. If they don't accept you for who you are, then why would you want to be around those people? Don't be around them. You can choose. You can teach your children the same thing. Yeah, don't have friends that treat you bad, and then look at your kids and go, why do you hang around that friend? They don't treat you nicely. Well, what are you showing them?
Yeah, I have friends in Australia now, in the UK, around the world. Like, you got options.
Yeah, that's true.
If you could define resilience, how would you define it?
Resilience to me is, it's almost like being a rubber band. You're flexible. You're able to move with the ebbs and the flows of life, the ups and the downs, the valleys and the mountains. It's that whole idea of running into the storm, that resilience of knowing, what? I see this come in my direction. I'm just going to meet it head on instead of trying to run from it or go around it or under it, because it doesn't work that way. As much as we want to, shove all of our feelings down or out, or it doesn't work. It's always going to keep resurfacing until we actually go head on into, okay, what is this actually about? And the faster we learn that through resilience, the easier it is to be resilient, because now we've learned how to be flexible, and it's okay to not have a great day today. And it's okay that I woke up sad. I don't have to hold on to the sadness. I can stop right then and be resilient and go, okay, wait, what is this? Why do I feel sad? Maybe it was a weird dream I had. I don't know. But the faster and the more resilient you are into going into the problem, into the storms, the faster you move out of them and the more resilient you do become when they come, because now you're not afraid of it. You start seeing it as, oh, this is an opportunity. I'm about to learn something important. That is one thing I've learned about fear, is I flipped it to a resilient view instead of looking at, oh, this is horrible. Now I know when fear hits me, something amazing is about to happen on the other side. Otherwise, I wouldn't be feeling it. So now I look at it as fully embracing abundance reality. When I bump up against fear, I'm like, oh, something good's on the other side. So I'm going to run into it. Yeah.
That's like opposition in all things. When you've got a low, there's a high coming. There's definitely going to be the opposite in all things. And that's kind of the fun of life, is you may be experiencing a low and a high in the same week, in the same day, and they may seem so extreme, but what it's really doing is expanding your view of humanity, of being able to understand the breadth and width of this beautiful life and trip that we're on, and the reality of what it is to really be human and to really feel those things and to embrace them as part of life. If you could come up with a tool to be resilient, or maybe there's one that you already use, what would be your favorite one?
Favorite tool for resiliency. I guess, I don't know, this is kind of a roundabout way, but to know yourself, like really know yourself. And you can't just get there. That's not one of those easy things that I'm just going to know myself in the afternoon. No. This is a journey of learning to understand your triggers, the things that trigger you. This trigger could cause a storm. I know this about myself. What am I going to do? So what can I do to be proactive? I don't have to go into this emotion. An emotion, I guess your emotions themselves. Let's look at it that way. Your emotions themselves are tools. Your emotions are telling you something is amiss, or something is about to shift, or something needs to be looked at deeper. So instead of allowing your emotions to rule you, you start to learn how to master your emotions. That's a tool. Using your very own emotions as a tool to guide you to where you need to go. Because I feel angry right now, but why do I feel angry? What is it really about? Because once you figure out what it's really about, then you can deal with it. Then you can move on from it or heal whatever needs to be healed. Because usually it's emotions of anger and sadness. Anger always does not stand by itself. It comes from something else. So when you find yourself angry, that tool of, okay, this emotion is telling me something, what am I going to do with this? Use your own emotions as tools.
Yeah, and that's what this is about. I think reality check starts with, who are you? For me, I really couldn't answer that question. I grew up very much a chameleon and being whoever my parents needed me to be to kind of survive the flow of our household and what was going on there and some unresolved things. And then I was in theater where I was allowed to explore and be other people, which was great. At least I got to explore emotions and different things, but I never really settled on who I was in all of that. And it eventually caught up with me. And it really came to me when someone said, who are you? And I'm listing, well, I'm a mom and I'm a wife at the time. And I'm talent, this and this. Is like, no, who are you? Not what do you do? What titles do you have? Who are you? Who is Tiffany? And I couldn't answer. I just was like, because usually I would say what they want to say. Right. And he wasn't letting me just say what he wanted to hear or what he wanted to say. He was really making me go deeper into realizing that I didn't have that defined. And I really needed to go define that, because it's dangerous to not have that defined as well. People will take advantage of that. And I would say that happened to me as well. I was very sheltered, very much not prepared for life in the way that I'm preparing my kids, of understanding the highs and the lows. I kind of floated through life like the woman you're talking about, without a lot of hard things. And when a hard thing hit, it knocked me to the ground. And since then, I feel blessed that I've been through a lot, because it's really expanded me and made me a stronger person. It's also helped me define who I am. Like, you don't know who you are until you're put up against the wall and you have to do something. Like, you have to take charge of your life. You have to change something. And those are the moments, instead of being scared of, like you're talking about, we can be grateful for, because they're telling us those things that we need to change, whether that's our emotions, whether it's a circumstance, whether it's a pattern that keeps coming up and you're like, why did this happen again? Or we're attracting a certain kind of person into our life. We really have to get real with ourselves on, I'm creating this. Why am I creating this? Is this in alignment with who I am and who I'm meant to be? Is this a pattern? Is it a generational thing that I need to change? Is it an expectation somebody else put on me? What do I want to create? And not in a selfish way. It's not like you're going to go out there and like hurt people with becoming who you were meant to be and living your truth. I really don't think we have to worry about that. And really, it is okay to be a little selfish with that part of figuring out who you are. Because once you tap into that, then you're in alignment. You're at a new vibration. The things and the people you are meant to attract will come into your life. They will embrace you. And life will just feel lighter, I think would be the way I would put it, because there'll be a flow. It will flow. It will have an ease to it. Do you find that to be true?
Oh, yes, definitely. It's that yoke, like you're yoking yourself with knowledge and wisdom, because we have all of that inside of us already. That is I think one of the things on my journey into understanding who I am was understanding that, first of all, we are born to create. We are creators. We're from a creator. We are called to create. And it's been actually really recent that God has been showing me like this room, like I have this empty room. I have gotten rid of all of the residual stuff from my past, the abuse, like I've healed. And now he's been showing me, it's like, okay, but now you have this empty room. What do you want to put in it?
Yeah.
Goosebumps. He's like, you can create whatever you want your life to be now. You've healed, you've done all this work, you've shown resiliency. And that was, to me, was just like this, so I'm just picturing, I'm very good at visuals. Like I'm just picturing this room, like, oh my gosh, I want big windows. I want bright lights coming in, and I want to be able to just look out, see nature. And like, just think of that. You're like this empty canvas, and you get to decide the things that bring you joy, that you can have those, the things that you dream of, the things that you want. And that is the question. What do you want?
Yeah.
I've had so many. Yeah.
Power of our lives and the coaching that I do, high performance habits, one of the first things we hit is clarity.
Yeah.
There is no power in our lives without clarity. And clarity comes from a couple of things: knowing what we want and knowing who we are. And we have to have those two things in order to do that. And this is the perfect time of year to give yourself that clean slate. If you need to visualize it, if you need to journal it out, and then release what you also talked about, the reality of, what do I need to let go of? What do I want to keep? And that can be a journey. It may be a discovery, but see it curiously, like a child. Enjoy that process. Don't be like, oh, I'm 30 or 40 years old or whatever, and I still don't know who I am. That's okay. It's totally okay. We're evolving and changing all the time, and we get to enjoy the process. We don't need to be scared. It's not like we're going to fail. There is no failure unless we fail to try. Like, just keep going, keep moving forward with your life. But I love that beautiful place that you're talking about when you've done the work and you've healed and you can feel that. Can you speak a little bit more to that? Because I think that's the side of reality check. That's the release. That's the renewal. That's that new starting point. And that is a really beautiful place to be.
Yeah, I don't know where to start with that. But I as a continuation of what you said, like if you get to that point, you're like, oh, I'm this age and I don't know. You're looking at this beautiful blank canvas. You can do anything. You can be whoever you're called to be, and all of it's beautiful, and it's perfection. And like if you want bold colors across this wall, bold colors. It's all about expressing you in a way that brings you joy. It's not about anyone else. This is your room. This is your canvas. This is your dreams and your desires, because that's the only way you're going to have your dreams and desires, is to actually tap in to the energy of them, because it's that energy. It's back to that field. You're going to reap the harvest of what you're sowing.
Yes.
If you're sowing confusion, you're going to reap confusion. If you start, because that's always the first question. I'm glad you said that. Like, what do you want? Sometimes it takes me asking a client a couple of times. No, really, that's not an answer. What do you want? Nope, that's still not it. What do you really, deep down in the core of who you are?
That's not what they want, not what other people want, not the expectation. No one else. What do you want?
Yeah, and I've seen some amazing, journeys start to play out once they go, okay, this is really what I want. Because once you open your eyes to that possibility, everything starts to fall into alignment, because once you see it, it can be built because you're the creator.
Yeah. Well, and realizing you have that power within yourself, like that it was there all along. You just needed to give yourself permission to tap into that power. It's not out there. It's not in titles. It's not in accomplishments. It's not in a dollar amount in your bank. Your value doesn't change. Your truth doesn't change. It's in here. And once you lock into that, that's the real, I think, joy and success in life, because then you're really resilient. It doesn't matter what comes your way. It can bounce off of you, and you can bring yourself right back to alignment. Can you talk about a time where like you really felt like you stepped into your truth and you just knew, this is it. This is who I'm meant to be. I'm stepping in the right direction.
What's funny for me is like, I was always that person. That's why that's another trick. Look back to when you were younger. What were you doing? What made you really happy when you were little? Because my whole life, even though I grew up in abuse and a trauma, I was always that person that was encouraging other people to step into their own truth. Like it was in me. I was already doing it. I just never saw it as something I could do, even though I was doing it. Does it make sense? It's this because I had limits on myself of who I thought I could be. So my room, instead of it being this blank slate, was everything else somebody else said. It was everybody else's words. It was everybody else's choices for me. And I thought that's what I had to be. But it wasn't until I started going through the work and the resilience and basically painting over the words of failure and worthlessness and, you got to be this and that, and letting all of that go and realizing, you know what, those were your words. That was your perception of who you thought I would be, not who I was actually created to be. So it was about understanding that I already had this amazing gift inside of me to be able to see inside someone else and say, and be able to keep going. No, that's not it. Go a little deeper. Nope, that's not quite it. Go a little deeper. I already had that in me. I just had to own it, because you might already be doing what you're called to do, but you don't see it as a job because it just feels so good and so natural. But that's the thing. Your greatest joy comes from walking in your purpose.
Yes.
Of what you were created to do. Because once you step into that, it doesn't seem like work. It doesn't feel like work. All these people that come to me all the time, they're like, oh, I'm bothering you. No, you're not. Bring it. I've got answers if you're really, ready. And then a new client that I've just started working with was like, I don't like talking, I'm like, no, I don't. I just ask the question. You find the answer. Because I cannot be profound for you. The only time the aha moment comes is when you find it. I can't give you that. I can keep directing you. I might know it. I may see it. I'm not going to say it. You have to find it. And so by the time we got done with her session, she was like, oh my God, that was the most amazing. I didn't even realize what you were doing. I just thought I was in this conversation with you. And then all of a sudden, all this stuff I'm like, yeah, because it's already in you.
Yeah, that's the power of coaching. We have these patterns that we say and these thoughts, but sometimes we're not aware of them. And we need an outside voice to bring us that perspective of, do you realize you're repeating this? Do you realize what you're really saying? Did you hear what you just said about yourself? And then that's where change can come, where we can't always do that work on our own. Journaling's great. Meditation's great. There's a lot of tools out there, but that's the beauty about us needing each other as human beings, is that we benefit from each other's perspectives and that reality. You've been through the healing process. Someone who hasn't been there yet needs someone as that guide to get them there and to give them the tools and the ideas of where they want to go. And what I really think you're talking about, and this is great for the beginning of the year too, is what does success look like for you? Not what somebody else defined it for you. What does a successful day look like for you? What would the perfect day be like for you? And once you feel that, I think that's the other thing, is like, how does it feel to you? Do you feel joyous? Do you feel light? Do you feel aligned? Then you know you're on the right track. But if you've never felt that before, it may be a little uncomfortable at first because it's not familiar. You weren't given permission to speak your truth or to be who you are actually meant to be. And once you do step into that, then it's important that you stay there. We can be like a thermostat and be around people we're supposed to be like, and be like, oh, wait, never mind, and come back down. And it's important we don't do that. It's important that we embrace change and head into the storm and face fear and a lot of the things that we talked about. But you've got to find who you are. You've got to figure out what your truth is, what you want. And then you've got to define what success looks like for you, because that'll be really helpful when you want to say yes or no to different things. You'll be like, yes, that's in alignment with my goals and where I see success. And it may be a chapter of your life too. Like I'm in the chapter of mom with a toddler and teenagers, and they are still a big part of my life. And that'll shift when they're out of the house and on their own. It'll shift if I meet the love of my life. Like that doesn't have to change what success means to me. It may just be in that package of who I am and where I'm going in my truth. And I'm just going to kind of change harmony. Like I'm going to change the bass here a little bit and focus more in this area, or I'm going to change the alto a little bit in this area, but I'm going to allow things to flow within that melody for me in my life. But if I don't define it, if I never write the song, I never get to speak my truth out into the world. It never gets to be heard. And the reality is it's all up to you. It's completely up to you.
I just want to add on to that because like I said, the relationship piece. So when you brought up the love of my life, here's the thing. If you don't know what you want and where you're going, you're going to meet all the wrong people.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing that God has really shown me is within covenant, like your purpose is in marriage. Like if you're called to be married, it's part of your purpose, which means that together your purpose is enlarged. This person doesn't come into your life and diminish yours. Now yours doesn't mean anything. We're riding on their coattails. No. When you find that person that you are called and meant to be with, your purpose comes into alignment and it enlarges. Yes. You're not going to know who that person is if you're not already walking in your purpose. Yeah. That's how we end up with the incorrect people. And then we don't know who we are anymore because we let go of ourselves to try to be. Don't ever try to be what you think someone else wants you to be, because you will never be with your right person.
It's just like you have to love yourself before someone else can love you. How can they love you if you don't even know who you are?
Exactly. Yeah. So if you want to find your person, get into an agreement with yourself first and get into your purpose, because then you'll come into alignment with yours, because it'll be.
We can do a whole nother episode just on relationships and that right there.
Yeah.
But my little guy's knocking at the door, so I need to wrap this up. So if people want to work with you, where can they find you?
You can find me on Facebook, Laurie Herbers, or soullovelegacy.com. I'm pretty sure I'm Soul Love Legacy on Instagram. I think it's Abundance with Laurie on TikTok. That one, I don't know why that one's different, but it is. So yeah, those would be the places.
Well, thank you for being here. I have a fun 7-minute session that I do with people if you're interested, where we could do a real reality check for you in a matter of 10 minutes. If you're interested in that, contact me below and schedule a time, and I can, within 10 minutes, we can kind of get you started on any of these processes we talked about this year in the reality check. And look forward to seeing you next time. Thank you for listening, listeners, and we'll be here for you in the future. Thank you for being here, Laurie. Everyone, take care.